The river was quiet that evening, but not silent. The soft sound of moving water touched the trees and the air smelled of wet stone. John Miller, a man who had lived alone for years, sat by the bank with his old fishing rod. Life had become slow for him, quiet like the river itself. He thought nothing ever happened here. No drama, no visitors, just him and the land. But that night, everything changed. As John reeled in his empty line, he heard a sound he had never heard before. It was faint at first, almost like the cry of a cat, but it was sharper, higher, and filled with fear. He stood up, eyes scanning the water. Something small floated near the rocks, caught between weeds. At first, he thought it was a bundle of cloth. Then he saw it move. His heart jumped. He dropped the fishing rod and rushed closer. The river pulled at the object, spinning it around. And for a moment, the moonlight showed him the truth. It was not cloth. It was a baby. A baby with strange glowing skin. John froze, his boots sinking in the mud. The child's eyes opened, shining faintly blue, and a tiny hand reached out of the wet bundle. Its skin shimmered, as if light lived under it. John had never seen anything like it. His first thought was simple. This is not human. The cry came again, louder now, echoing through the trees. John's instincts battled inside him. He had spent years avoiding trouble. He wanted peace, no responsibilities, no new burdens. But, as the baby's hand curled weakly, he felt something grip his heart. "God help me," he muttered, stepping into the cold water. He pulled the baby out from the weeds. It was light, too light, as if it had no weight at all. The child's skin was cold, yet somehow it glowed with warmth. Its eyes locked on his, and John felt something stir inside, a bond, quick and powerful. Then he heard something else. Leaves moved on the far side of the river. A shadow shifted between the trees. John turned sharply, clutching the baby to his chest. His old hunter's instinct told him he was being watched. The forest was too still now, too silent except for the river. "Who's there?" he called, his voice firm but tense. No answer, only the wind, but the feeling of eyes remained. John hurried back to his cabin, carrying the child in his arms. His cabin was small, built of old wood, with a single fire burning low inside. He placed the baby on a blanket near the fire, trying to dry its strange clothes. The baby's breathing steadied, its glow softening, and soon it fell quiet. John stared at it, uneasy. He had seen many things in life: wars, cities, strangers passing through. But nothing like this. He knew stories of strange lights in the sky, rumors of sightings, talk of creatures not from Earth. He never believed them fully. But now, one of those creatures, or at least its child, was lying on his floor. The cry had stopped, but the silence felt even heavier. He paced the room, peeking through the window at the forest outside. The moonlight showed tall trees swaying, but nothing else. Still, he could not shake the feeling that someone, or something, was near. Then, the baby stirred. Its hand reached toward him, fingers glowing faintly like tiny embers. Against his will, John stepped closer. He touched the small hand, and a strange warmth spread up his arm. For a second he thought he heard a voice, not with his ears but inside his head, a soft whisper like a plea. "Safe?" He pulled his hand back, shaking. No, this is madness," he muttered. But when the baby whimpered, he could not resist. He wrapped it in a thicker blanket, tucking it close to the fire. Outside, a branch snapped. John froze, his eyes darting to the window. He grabbed the old shotgun from the wall. His heart pounded, the air thick with tension. Slowly, he pushed the curtain aside. Two glowing eyes stared back at him from the trees. He gasped, nearly firing, but the figure vanished into the shadows. The forest fell quiet again, but the fear did not leave. Whoever was out there had seen. Harrison seen the child. John stepped back, clutching the gun tight. He looked at the baby, then at the door. His life of peace was gone. He knew deep down that by pulling this child from the river, he had invited danger into his home. The baby breathed softly, unaware of the storm outside. And John whispered to himself, "What have I done?" The cabin stood quiet, wrapped in darkness, with only the soft crackle of the fire keeping the night away. John sat in his chair, the shotgun leaning by his side, his eyes heavy with worry. On the floor, the strange baby lay bundled in blankets, its glow faint but steady. For a few hours, nothing happened. The silence almost convinced him that the danger outside was only in his mind. The baby slept peacefully, and John tried to calm himself. He had dealt with fear before. Storms, wild animals, even men with bad intentions, but this was different. This was something he did not understand. Then, near midnight, the silence shattered. A sharp cry split the air. It was not the cry of a itya, human baby. It was higher, louder, and filled with a strange energy. The sound shook the wooden walls and rattled the glass of the single window. John jumped to his feet, heart racing. The baby was awake, its tiny body trembling as if fighting something unseen. Its eyes glowed bright blue now, almost blinding in the darkness. The cry rose higher, vibrating through the cabin like thunder trapped in a box. "Stop. Shh. Stop," John whispered, rushing to the child. But his words did nothing. He picked the baby up, rocking it gently, but the glow only grew stronger. Shadows danced wildly on the walls, and for a moment it felt as if the whole cabin was alive. Then came the sound outside. A distant echo like a howl mixed with metal rolled through the forest. John froze, clutching the baby tighter. The cry from the child had reached someone, or something, out there. He hurried to the window, pulling the curtain just enough to peek through. The forest was alive with movement. Shapes slid between the trees, some too fast for his eyes, some too large for his mind to accept. He saw flashes of light like strange armor reflecting the moon. The cry had called them. John cursed under his breath. He turned back to the baby, who was still glowing bright. "You're gonna get me killed, little one," he muttered, though his hands held the child with care. The footsteps outside grew louder. Dry leaves cracked under heavy boots, or claws. He could not tell. A shadow passed right in front of his window, so close he could see the breath fog against the glass. John backed away, holding the baby close to his chest. His shotgun felt small, useless, against whatever was out there. Then the baby did something new. It reached a hand toward the door, its tiny fingers glowing like fireflies. The crying stopped, replaced by a soft humming sound that filled the room. The glow spread, wrapping around John's arms like warm threads. For a moment, fear left him. A calm washed over his mind, strange but strong. And then, bang. The door shook. Someone, or something, had slammed against it. John rushed to the door, jamming the wooden bar across it. The cabin rattled again with a second strike. Dust fell from the roof beams. "Go away," he shouted, though he knew they could not understand. The baby hummed louder, its glow pushing back the darkness. John felt the warmth flow deeper, almost like the child was protecting him too. But the attackers did not leave. The window cracked, a clawed hand smashing through the glass. John fired his shotgun without thinking. The blast lit the cabin, smoke, filling the air. The shadow outside screamed, a high, twisted sound, and fell back into the trees. Silence followed, heavy and sharp. John's ears rang, the baby's glow dimmed, and the forest seemed to hold its breath. Then, slowly, the sounds faded. The footsteps retreated into the night. Whoever they were, they had not expected the fight. John lowered the shotgun, his hands shaking. He looked at the baby, who now stared up at him with wide, glowing eyes. No fear showed on its face, only calm, as if it knew this would happen. "Who are you?" John whispered. No answer came, only the soft breathing of the child. The night dragged on. John did not sleep. He sat in the chair, the baby in his arms, listening to every creak and whisper outside. He knew the danger was not over. The cry had revealed the child's presence. Others had heard. Others would come. By dawn, the forest was quiet again, but John's heart was heavy. He had survived the night, but he was no longer alone in his quiet world. He had stepped into something much bigger, something deadly, and deep inside he felt the truth. This was only the beginning. The sun rose slowly over the forest, spilling pale light through the mist. John stood outside his cabin, shotgun resting on his shoulder, eyes scanning the tree line. He had not slept all night. Every sound of the forest had kept him awake. The crack of branches, the cry of owls, even the whisper of the river. He knew the strangers from last night might return. Inside the cabin, the alien baby still slept, wrapped in blankets near the fire. Its glow had faded to a soft shimmer, as if it had used too much strength during the night. The baby's breathing was steady, calm, almost too calm for what had just happened. John rubbed his tired eyes and muttered, "What have I gotten myself into?" He thought of taking the baby into town, maybe leaving it with the authorities. But deep inside, he knew that would be useless. No sheriff, no doctor, no ordinary person would understand what this child was. Worse, people might take it away, experiment on it, or worse. No, he couldn't trust them. As he was lost in thought, a sound cut through the quiet morning. Footsteps. Not the heavy crash of hunters or the skitter of animals. These steps were softer, lighter, but firm. They came closer, steady, not hiding, not rushing. John tightened his grip on the shotgun. He turned toward the path leading up from the river. Two figures emerged through the mist. At first, John thought they were women from a faraway land, tall, graceful, and strangely dressed. But as they stepped closer, his breath caught in his chest. Their skin carried a faint shimmer, almost like the glow of the baby. Their eyes were larger than human, with colors that shifted like liquid metal. They moved with unnatural elegance, as if the forest itself bent around them. John raised the shotgun. "Stop right there." The two figures stopped a few feet away. They exchanged a quick glance, then looked at him with calm but sharp eyes. One of them spoke, her voice soft yet commanding. "You have the child." John's heart pounded. He had expected something like this, but hearing the words made it real. "Who are you?" he demanded. "Why are you looking for it?" The woman stepped forward, but not too close. She had long silver hair that shimmered in the sunlight. "I am Lyra. That child belongs to me. I am its mother." Before John could answer, the second woman raised her voice. Her tone was sharper, filled with fire. "Lies. The child is not hers. I am Kalen, sworn protector of the royal bloodline. That infant belongs to my people." John stared at them both, stunned. He tightened his grip on the shotgun. "So which one of you is lying?" Neither woman blinked. They stared at each other with open hatred, as if their war had begun long before they ever reached his cabin. Lyra's voice softened again. "Human, you do not understand. That child is precious. If you give it to me, I will take it far from here. You will never be bothered again." Kalen shook her head, stepping forward, her golden eyes burning. "Do not trust her. She wants the power of the child for herself. The baby is not hers. It belongs to a throne, and enemies hunt it even. Now, if you give it to me, I will keep it safe." John's chest tightened. Both women spoke with conviction, but their stories did not match. He thought of the baby's small hand gripping his finger, the whisper he thought he had heard. "Safe. Why should I trust either of you?" he asked. Lyra looked at him, her eyes soft but desperate. "Because I am its blood. Look at it. When it wakes, it will know me." Kalen's jaw tightened. "And yet last night, who calmed it when it cried?" "You. It does not respond to her. It responds to you." That struck John harder than he expected. He looked back at the cabin. Could it be true? Why did the baby glow brighter when it touched him? Why did it quiet in his arms and not theirs? Before he could speak again, a sudden rumble rolled through the trees. The ground shook faintly, as if something large moved beneath the soil. The two women stiffened, their eyes darting to the sky. John followed their gaze and saw shapes moving, far above the trees. Not birds, not planes. Strange ships, their bodies gleaming like black glass, circling high above. "They found us," Kaylin whispered. Lyra turned to John, her calm face cracking into fear. "Human, listen to me. You must decide quickly. Who will you give the child to? If you choose wrong, it will die. And so might you." John's hands tightened around the shotgun. His eyes flicked from one woman to the other. Both stood before him, both claiming the child, both demanding his trust. Behind him, the baby began to cry again. The sound was sharp, cutting through, the forest air louder than before. The ships above shifted their path, circling lower. John's heart raced. The choice he made next would decide everything. Inside the cabin, the baby's cry filled the air again, louder than before. John rushed, shotgun still in his hand, while the two alien women followed him to the doorway. The glow from the child's body lit the dark corners of the cabin, painting the wood with shifting blue light. John bent down and picked the baby up, rocking it gently. Strangely, the crying stopped the moment the child touched him. The glow softened, the little fingers curled around his shirt, and the baby rested quietly against his chest. Lyra and Kaylin stepped inside, their sharp gazes fixed on the child. "You see," Kaylin said, her golden eyes gleaming. "The child responds only to him, not to you." Lyra's lips pressed into a thin line. She moved closer, her silver hair brushing her shoulders. "It is frightened, that is all. It will know me soon." John shook his head. "Stop arguing, tell me the truth. Who does this child really belong to?" For a long moment, silence stretched in the cabin. The fire cracked softly and the baby breathed against John's chest. Finally, Lyra spoke, her voice low. "The child is not ordinary. It is the blood of the royal line, born in secret, hidden from enemies who would kill it before it could grow." Kaylin crossed her arms. "That much is true, but she is no mother. She is a traitor, a thief. She wants to use the heir for her own claim to power." John's jaw tightened. "Then what are you?" Kaylin lifted her chin. "I am sworn guardian of the royal line. My life is bound to its survival. I was tasked to keep the child hidden until the time was right. But she," Kaylin spat the word with venom, "stole it from its cradle before I could act." Lyra's eyes flared with anger. "Lies. I saved it. When the assassins came, when the palace burned, where were you, guardian? You failed your duty. I carried the child across stars through fire and blood until I found this world." The words hit like hammers. John's mind spun. A palace? Assassins? Royal heirs? This child was not just alien. It was a key. Maybe even a weapon in a war. He couldn't imagine. He looked down at the baby, so small, so fragile. Yet both women spoke of kingdoms and power, of bloodlines and thrones. The baby stirred and something caught John's eye. A mark, faint but glowing, appeared on its shoulder. It looked like a crest, two circles joined by a line, surrounded by strange symbols. John traced it with his finger and the baby cooed softly. Both women gasped. "The seal," Lyra whispered, stepping closer. "Only the chosen can see it. The mark of the true heir." Kaylin's voice shook, though her face stayed hard, and yet it responds only to him. Not to you, not to me. Him. A human. John looked up, confusion burning in his chest. "What does that mean?" Neither woman answered. Instead, they stared at him as if seeing him for the first time, not as a man but as something far more important. John took a step back, clutching the baby tighter. "No, don't look at me like that. I'm no king, no chosen one. I'm just a man who found a child in the river. The baby gurgled, its small hand reaching up to touch his chin. Warmth spread through John's chest, and once again he thought. He heard a voice, not spoken aloud but inside his mind. Safe. With you. He staggered, breath catching in his throat. Did the child just speak to him? Kaylin's eyes narrowed. It has bonded with you. That should be impossible. Lyra shook her head, her expression dark. Unless fate itself placed him here. Unless the child chose him. The cabin shook suddenly, pulling them all back to the moment. A deep rumble rolled from the forest. Outside, branches cracked like bones. The ships in the sky moved lower, their shadows sliding across the ground. They are coming, Kaylin said. The hunters will not stop now. They smelled its cry last night. They will tear this world apart until they find it. Lyra stepped closer to John, her silver eyes desperate. Give the child to me. I can take it far away, hide it where no hunter will reach. No, Kaylin barked. He must come with me. I swore an oath, and I will die before I break it. John felt the weight of their words crushing him. He had lived alone for years, hiding from the world, building a quiet life with no one to depend on him. And now, 2 alien women stood in his cabin demanding he choose, while a baby that wasn't even human clung to him like he was its father. The fire flickered as the baby's glow grew brighter again, spilling light across the room. The mark on its shoulder pulsed almost alive. John swallowed hard. If what you're saying is true, then this isn't just your fight. It's mine now, too. And I'm not handing this child to either of you until I know who to trust. The women stared at him, stunned by his defiance. Outside, the forest roared with approaching footsteps. The truth had been spoken, but danger was closing in fast, and John knew that his quiet life was gone forever. The cabin shook as another rumble rolled through the forest. John gripped the shotgun tight, his knuckles white. The baby clung to his chest, glowing brighter with each passing second, its mark pulsing like a heartbeat. Lyra and Kaylin stood, on opposite sides of the room, their eyes darting toward the windows as shadows moved outside. They're here, Kaylin hissed, pulling a long, curved blade from the strange scabbard strapped to her back. The blade shimmered with a faint golden light. Hunters of the dark clans. They will not stop until the child is in their hands. John's throat went dry. How many? Kaylin's gaze flicked to the window. Too many. Lyra lifted her, hands silver sparks flowing across her fingers. Then we fight. John wanted to argue. He had no place in a war he didn't understand. But the baby's grip tightened on his shirt, and he felt its tiny warmth spread through him. He had taken the child from the river. He had chosen to keep it safe. Now he couldn't walk away. Outside, the forest came alive. Strange guttural cries echoed through the trees. Heavy footsteps thudded closer, branches snapping under their weight. Then came the glow, red eyes flickering in the shadows, circling the cabin. John backed toward the fire, his shotgun raised. His cabin had never felt smaller, its wooden walls suddenly fragile against the storm outside. The first attack came fast. The door shook violently, the wood splintering under a powerful strike. The baby whimpered, and John's heart raced. He aimed the shotgun at the door, ready to fire. But Kaylin moved first. With a sharp cry, she dashed forward, her blade slicing across the door just as it burst inward. A creature lunged through, a tall figure with dark armor and a face hidden behind a bone mask. Its claws glowed faint red, its roar shaking the walls. Kaylin's blade met its chest in a shower of sparks. The creature screamed, stumbling back, but another burst through the window behind it. John fired his shotgun. The blast tore through the attacker's shoulder, sending it crashing to the floor. Black fluid splattered across the wooden boards, sizzling where it touched the firelight. More are coming, Lyra shouted, her hands glowing. She unleashed a wave of silver light that struck another hunter at the window, throwing it back into the forest. The cabin filled with chaos, roars, Gunfire, the clash of blades, the flash of alien power. John moved on instinct, reloading and firing, shielding the baby with his body. The child glowed brighter each time danger came near, its light pushing back the shadows. But for every hunter they struck down, 2 more circled outside. The cabin walls cracked, the roof shuddered, and John knew they could not hold much longer. "We can't stay here," he shouted. Kaylin slashed down another attacker, her breath heavy. Then where? John's mind raced. The forest was thick. Dangerous, but it was the only choice. "The river," he said. "We can lose them in the water." Lyra's eyes widened, then narrowed. "It's madness. Do you have a better idea?" John snapped. Another strike shook the walls and a claw tore through the roof. That was answer enough. Kaylin kicked the door open, her blade flashing as she cut down the hunters waiting outside. "Go, I'll clear the way." John didn't argue. He wrapped the baby tighter in the blanket and ran into the night, Lyra close behind him. The forest exploded with sound. The cries of hunters, the crash of branches, the hiss of alien voices calling in a tongue he couldn't understand. John's boots pounded the dirt path, his breath ragged, the baby glowing in his arms like a lantern. Behind him, Kaylin fought like a storm, her blade flashing golden arcs that split through the darkness. Lyra's silver light blasted from her hands, striking hunters from the trees. Still, they came. The river roared ahead, its waters black under the moonlight. John skidded to a stop at the bank, his heart pounding. Now what? The baby stirred in his arms, its mark glowing even brighter. Suddenly, the water began to shift. Ripples spread, forming a strange circle of light on the surface, as if the river itself had answered the child's call. John's eyes widened. "What is it doing?" Lyra gasped. "It's opening a path." Before John could ask what she meant, the hunters burst from the trees, red eyes glowing, claws raised. Kaylin leapt in front, shouting, "Into the river, now!" John hesitated only a second, then plunged into the water, clutching the baby close. The river was freezing, pulling at his legs, but the circle of light spread beneath him, steadying his steps. It was as if the water carried him forward, instead of dragging him down. Behind him, Lyra followed, her silver sparks flashing against the attackers. Kaylin fought at the edge of the river, her blade dripping black blood before finally diving in after them. The hunters howled, but none dared step into the glowing current. The river carried John deeper into the forest, the baby's glow guiding the way. For a moment the world went silent except for the rush of water. John held the child tight, his heart thundering. He had survived the night, but he knew this was only the beginning. The baby stirred, whispering in his mind once again, "Safe. With you." The river carried them fast, glowing faintly under the baby's light. John struggled to keep his footing, the water rushing around his legs, but each step felt guided. The current that should have dragged him under instead pushed him forward, as if it wanted him to survive. Behind him, Lyra and Kaylin moved with unnatural balance. Their bodies cut through the river like they belonged in it. John knew he did. Not belong here, he was only a man, but the baby in his arms gave him strength he could not explain. The cries of the hunters faded behind them. Red eyes glared from the shore, but none of the creatures dared enter the glowing path of water. John could hear their roars of frustration echoing through the forest, but he did not look back. He focused only on the baby, who stared at him calmly, glowing stronger with every step. After what felt like hours, the river slowed, and they reached a quiet bend where trees hung low over the water. Kaylin climbed onto the bank first, her golden blade still in her hand, her eyes scanning every shadow. Lyra followed, her silver hair clinging wet to her face, her gaze sharp and watchful. John dragged himself onto the muddy ground, collapsing, with the baby still tight in his arms. His chest burned with exhaustion, his muscles heavy, but he did not let go of the child. For a moment the forest was silent. Only the soft sound of water and the whisper of wind in the trees surrounded them. Kaylin finally lowered her blade. "We are safe for now." John leaned back against a tree, panting. "Safe? We nearly died back there." "Yes," Lyra said softly, wringing water from her cloak. And yet the river carried us. It responded to the child. Do you still doubt what it is? John looked down at the baby. The mark on its shoulder still pulsed faintly, glowing like a heartbeat. Its eyes, wide and strange, never looked afraid. Instead, they gazed at him as if he were the only person in the universe. I don't doubt it's special, John said slowly. But what I don't understand is, why me? Why does it only trust me? Kaylin stepped closer, her expression hard but curious. Because it chose you. The bond was never meant for one of us. Somehow it linked to you. Lyra frowned. That bond is dangerous. A human cannot carry the weight of royal blood. It will crush him in time. John clenched his jaw. I didn't ask for this. But the child came to me, not you. Until I know what's right, it stays with me. The two women glared at each other again, tension sharp in the air. Their hatred was clear, but neither made a move against him. Perhaps even they feared breaking the bond. The baby yawned, its glow softening, and for a while silence returned. Then, Kaylin crouched beside John. Listen, human. We cannot stay in these woods. The hunters will regroup. They will follow. We must move, deeper to the old ruins. There we may find shelter. Lyra shook her head. No. The ruins are cursed. They are filled with death. You would lead us into a trap. Kaylin's eyes narrowed. And what do you suggest? Stay here and wait to die? John raised his hand. Enough. We'll move, but carefully. I don't care about your wars, your curses, or your kingdoms. My only concern is keeping this child alive. If the ruins give us even one night of safety, then we go there. The argument died, though neither woman looked pleased. They began their march through the forest, the trees tall and dark around them. The baby's glow lit their path, faint but steady. Strange sounds echoed in the distance, calls of unknown, beasts, whispers that carried on the wind, but none came close. As they walked, John studied the two women. Kaylin moved like a warrior, every step ready for battle, her golden blade always near. Lyra moved with quiet grace, her hands glowing faintly as if ready to cast strange light at any threat. They were enemies, yet now they followed the same path. Hours passed, the forest never ending. John's body ached, but he refused to stop. The baby's warmth kept him moving. He thought of the quiet life he had once lived. Fishing by the river, nights by the fire, days of silence. That life was gone. Now he carried something that could change entire worlds. Finally, Kaylin lifted her hand, signaling a halt. They stood at the edge of a clearing. In the center lay broken stones and shattered towers overgrown with vines. The ruins. This place, Lyra whispered, her voice low. It is older than your world, human. Built by those who came before us. Power sleeps here, but so does death. John looked at the ruins uneasy. The air felt heavier, the shadows thicker. Yet he saw no hunters. For now it was shelter. He tightened his grip on the baby and stepped forward. Then tonight this is home. The ruins welcomed them with silence, but as they settled within the crumbling walls, John could not shake the feeling that something else was watching. Not hunters, not beasts, something older, something waiting. The baby stirred in his arms, its eyes glowing faintly as if it felt the same presence. And in the silence of the ruins, John whispered, "What are you leading me into, little one?" The ruins stood silent in the night, their broken towers leaning like bones of giants long forgotten. The air was cold, heavy with the smell of moss and stone. John sat near the crumbled wall of what once might have been a hall, the baby wrapped in his arms. Its glow was softer now, steady, but the mark on its shoulder pulsed with a rhythm that felt alive. Kaylin kept watch at the edge of the clearing, her golden blade across her knees. Her sharp eyes scanned every shadow. Lyra sat across from her, hands folded, her silver hair falling over her shoulders as she whispered words in a tongue John could not understand. For hours, nothing moved. The ruins gave them shelter but not peace. John felt the weight of unseen eyes. The baby stirred uneasily, as if sensing the same. Finally, Kaelin broke the silence. They will come. The hunters never stop. The question is not if, but when. Lyra's voice was calm but cold. Then we must be ready. But there is more at stake than this night. The child must be protected for what it represents. John looked from one to the other. You keep saying that. You talk of kingdoms, of thrones, of enemies. But what I want to know is, what will happen to this child if I give it to either of you? What's the truth? Lyra met his gaze first. With me, the child will return to the bloodline. I will raise it in safety, teach it, prepare it. One day, it will take its place as ruler of its people. Kaelin shook her head, anger flashing in her golden eyes. You twist the truth. With you, the child will be a weapon, a crown you place on your head to claim power. You speak of safety, but you mean control. And with you? John asked sharply. Kaelin's voice softened for the first time. With me, the child will live hidden. No throne, no war, only survival until the time is right. It will know nothing of its power until it must. John's chest tightened. Both spoke with conviction. Both offered futures that sounded right and wrong at the same time. But when he looked down at the baby, its glowing eyes staring back at him, he felt something deeper. The baby reached up, tiny fingers brushing his chin, and once again he heard that soft voice inside his mind. Choose. Before John could speak, the ruins trembled. The ground shook, dust falling from the cracked stones. Shadows moved at the edge of the clearing. Red eyes blinked in the darkness. The hunters had found them. Kaelin leapt to her feet, blade drawn. They're here. Lyra's hands lit with silver fire. Then this ends tonight. Dozens of hunters poured into the clearing, their bone masks gleaming, claws glowing with red heat. Their roars shook the ruins, the air filled with the sound of war. John held the baby close, his heart hammering. He could run, but there was nowhere to go. The hunters surrounded them. Kaelin fought like fire, her blade flashing golden arcs that cut through the darkness. Lyra unleashed waves of silver light, striking hunters down with blasts that shook the stones. But still, more came. The ruins filled with chaos, screams, the clash of power. John backed against the wall, the baby glowing, brighter, its mark blazing like a star. The hunters hesitated, staring at the child with fear and hunger. John realized they wanted the baby alive. A voice echoed through the ruins, deep and cruel. One hunter stepped forward, taller than the rest, its mask carved with jagged lines. The air is ours. Give it to us, human, and you may live. John's hands shook. He looked at the baby, then at Lyra and Kaelin. Both women fought fiercely, but both wanted the child for themselves. If he chose wrong, he would doom the baby. If he chose neither, they would all die here. The baby's voice whispered again in his mind, louder now. Safe. With you. John's fear melted into something stronger. He stood, stepping forward, holding the glowing child high. The hunters froze, their eyes fixed on the mark blazing on its shoulder. You want the air? John shouted, his voice echoing through the ruins. Then you'll have to go through me. The baby's glow exploded, flooding the ruins with light. The hunters screamed, covering their eyes, their bodies writhing as the light burned them. Kaelin and Lyra staggered back, shielding themselves from the brilliance. John felt the warmth of the child flow through him, filling him with strength. For one moment, he was not just a man. He was something more. Chosen, bonded, protector. The hunters fled into the forest, their cries fading into the night. Silence fell again, broken only by John's heavy breathing. The baby's glow softened, and it rested quietly against his chest. Kaelin lowered her blade, staring at him with awe. It chose you. Lyra's voice was sharp with disbelief. Impossible. A human cannot carry that bond. John met their eyes. Believe what you want, but I won't give this child to either of you. Not now, not ever. If it's meant to, rule. It will grow and decide for itself. Until then, it stays with me. The women exchanged looks, anger, fear, and something else. But neither argued. They had seen the bond with their own eyes. John turned toward the forest, the baby safe, in his arms. His quiet life was gone forever, but something greater had begun. He whispered softly, almost to himself, "As long as I breathe, no one will take you." The ruins stood silent once more, the hunters gone. But in the shadows, the war for the child's future had only just begun, and John Miller, the lonely man by the river, was now the guardian of a destiny larger than any world.